Hello everyone, welcome back to the Besiege Bots tutorial series, episode 5. My name is Rave, and today we will be making a simple lifter robot in the lightweight category. Let's get started. For the center of this robot, we will be using a wing panel. The purpose of this will be to let the lifter arm have enough space to move up and down in the front. Now I will also add a second wing panel going to the back from the first one. Do not forget to enable collider scope and joints view. This will make building easier. There we go. We can see a problem here. The same issue as it is with logs sometimes. Their primary connection can override wood blocks. Wing panels have the exact same problem as you can see here. The wing panel primary connection, while being much stronger than the logs, it is still a weak connection. It is recommended in a situation like this to delete the wing panel, undo your deletion, and now it will connect just fine. I explained why this happens in more detail in the previous episode of the tutorial. If you have not seen it before, feel free to check it out. Now we will build the lifter arm for the robot. We will be using logs for this in a double strong lock connection like so. I will also reinforce this double strong lock connection with a wood block per side. Do remember, blocks can be clipped into each other as long as they stay connected. Like that. That will suffice for our lifter arm. Now we need a way to power the lifter. We will be using steering hinges for this. I will place them at the end of our lifter arm, and once we are done with that, I will move it up into its correct position. There we go. Select all of this. You can hold down left shift to have a drag select like this, or hold down right shift and individually click on the blocks. Either works. Move all of this up like so, and angle these steering hinges down so they connect to the wing panel at the back. This is good. Now angle the lifter arm down like so. What I did here is I held down left control so I can adjust the rotation by a finer value than what is written in here. If you rotate stuff like this, it will conform to this value. However, if you hold down left control and then rotate, you can rotate it by any amount you want. Now that we have the center of our robot, I will build the sides of the robot and the front of the robot. For this, I will be using wood blocks and logs. I will mirror this log. The reason for that is we do not want the log's primary connection to connect to wood panels like so, because it would overwrite their secondary connections. This way, the wood block secondary connections connect to the log secondary connection, resulting in a much stronger chassis piece. Now I will move these wood blocks to the other end of the log. As you can see, it is the problem I explained earlier. When it's like this, just delete the log and undo your deletion, and now everything is going to connect as intended. For the sides, I will be using another double strong lock connection, like so. I will just move it into place. Now we have a rough frame of the robot. I will mirror this to the other side with the same trick that I showed you in the previous episodes. There we go. Now we need to fill the empty space here. That can be best done with wing panels like so. I will copy paste this selection and move it around like so. We do not have enough space here to connect to the front. We can solve that by just moving the wood blocks more towards the front, and now they are connecting just fine. I will connect these two wing panels by two wood blocks like that. And I will connect the side of the robot to this wing panel with also two more wood blocks. Now that we have some empty space filled here, we can select all of these blocks and mirror them across like so. We have a decent chassis shape now. What to do next is add the wedging elements at the front and the wheels to the sides. I will start off with the wheels. Like so. It is always recommended that you move your back wheels a little further just so you have a longer wheelbase, which will decrease the chance of your robot wheeling. Now I will mirror these wheels across like that. Alright, now we need our wedging elements at the front, and for this we will be using blades as we learned from the last episode. Now we need blades on the lifter arm as well, because we will want it to get under opponents so it can actually lift them. I will attach the blade to this wing panel and then move it forward onto the lifter arm. And now I will duplicate this blade so we have two on the robot. We are at 59 blocks, so we will have 2 blocks left at the end of this. Now to adjust every single blade here so that they are on the ground. A good rule of thumb I like to start with when it comes to blades is to move all of the wheels up by 0.5 so our chassis is closer to the ground, and as we can see some of our blades already are touching the ground, but be aware, this would not be allowed. It would be something we call scum low. This is because every blade needs to be angled by 7.5 degrees to be legal. Like that. Our lifter's blades are at the front, so in theory this could already lift another robot. Now it's time to angle all of the rest of the blades and make sure that they are contacting the ground. Alright, we have angled them. Now we just need to move them down. Most of them seem to be on the ground except for these outer two. Actually, I will just move all of the blades down by a little more, just in case, just to make extra sure that everything is on the ground. I will move the outermost blades down just by a little more, and that seems to be just fine. Alright, now that we have done this, we have 2 blocks remaining. What can we do with these blocks? Well, we can reinforce the side connection here, or we can add downforce to the robots using flying blocks as explained in the last episode of the tutorial. I will choose to put downforce on the robot. As I did in the last episode of the tutorial. If you want a more in-depth explanation about flying blocks, do check it out. Alright, now we have our robot. It is almost basically complete. We will need one more thing for it, however. We do not have a way of controlling our lifter or our drive. I will start off by binding our drive like we did in the last episode. Add the extra controls here. Just follow along and you will have your control scheme set up pretty well. I explained all of these settings in the last episode of the tutorial, but as a reminder, I will quickly go over them. This selector controls how much friction the wheels will have with the floor, rather the way it is calculated. This will result in the most amount of friction possible. Automatic and toggle are self-explanatory. Auto brake will make your wheels stop by themselves if you are not holding any buttons to power them. Round wheels just simply makes your wheels much rounder and will result in your robot bouncing a lot less. Always turn these on for your drive wheels. Speed can always be turned up to 2 on your drive wheels. Acceleration should remain infinite. Friction, I recommend you go with 3 or 2. You can use 4 if you want, but that will result in your wheels having a little less durability in exchange for a little more grip. Spin-up time is not required for drive. I will now copy paste all of these settings to the right side of the robot. Go over to the left side. Swap the directional controls. And I will now copy and paste all of these on the left side of the robot. Alright, we need to reverse all of our drive components, just like we did in the last episode. I do this by hovering on each block and pressing F to flip their direction. And now our robot moves. It is also operating the lifting arm because the steering hinges default controls are left and right arrow. Alright, now we should bind our lifter. First off, check what button does what direction. For us, right arrow lifts the lifter. For a simple weapon control scheme, I recommend Q and E. E will be used to lift the weapon up, and Q will be used to lift it back down. Now I will go over the settings in a steering hinge. These settings might seem a little intimidating at first, but you do not need to worry, it is going to be just fine. The great thing about steering hinges is this here: limit angle and auto return. While auto return is not the most useful function, in fact, I will turn it off. This will result in the steering hinge not returning to any position by itself, and I will be able to leave it in any position I wish. But how do we know to return to its original state? Well, for that, we will need to look at the limit angle option. For steering hinges, for most applications, you want to leave this on. I always turn the angle associated with our lower side to 0. This way, we cannot go any lower than the lifter starts off with. Even if we raise the lifter, if we choose to lower it, it will return to the same position it started in instead of going even lower and lifting the rest of our blades off of the floor. The other side of this is the raise limit. It is still 40 degrees. We can go all the way up to 180 degrees. I will show how that looks. I'm not sure if you would want all of this motion for the lifter. I usually just stick with something like 120 degrees. But really, any value here that works and does not interfere with the rest of your robot will do just fine. So for now, I will leave it on 120 degrees. The other settings here, tension, it adjusts how flexible the connection of the steering hinges are. I recommend to leave this at the default 1 setting for now. Rotation speed, however, as you can see, the slider goes only up to 2 speed. So we will use that for our lifter. It is quite a fast lifter, but it will do just fine. This is how you set up your steering hinges for lifters. Auto return should stay off because that will allow you to leave your lifting arm at any position you like. That will make controlling your opponent easier. As you can see, we have a driving and lifting robot now. I will also build an anti-horizontal setup for this robot, using plows like we did in the last episode. For that, we will need to delete most of our blades. And now I will just put plows on the front like so. As you can see, these two plows are a little more inwards than the other two, so we will move them out just a little. I will now move these plows up. Alright, now to angle them a little bit so that our wheels actually touch the ground. Maybe that's too much. No, it was just right. Alright, there we go. Our wheels are touching the ground. Our robot can lift. And now has some degree of defense against horizontal spinners. I think that is a good way to leave the tutorial for now. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next episode. And goodbye.